this is the October 21 budget workshop. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to
the republic
stands
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we'll begin with the budget overview. Helen.
Okay, so I guess we'll start off on the first page, page 1-1. I'll just briefly go over the memo that was sent out. So on page 1-1, it just gives you an overview of for the funds. The first one, the general fund, which is the main operating fund for the township. As you see in the grayed area, we're expecting a deficit of $10 million this year, and all that has to do with transfers going out of the funds. So for the firehouse loan, the sewer project, and the community center pump room, these are the major transfers that are being made out of that fund, which is contributing to that deficit. The health and welfare fund, that is essentially just a washed pass-through fund. Whatever you're expecting to spend in it, we'll transfer money for that, for the health insurances. Community center, you see we're expecting a little bit of a increase in the fund balance, mainly due to transfer in. And the highway aid is another fund where we will spend whatever the state aid gives us in liquid fuels money. If you go to page 1-2, we're expecting a little bit increase in revenues, 3.4%. One of the major reasons is due to an increase in grants, and we're expecting more state aid from pension aid, from the state. We're also expecting a little bit more interest income this year as well, next year as well, due to a higher fund balance than we had previously, and also an expected increase in business privilege tax and mercantile tax. Not a whole lot, but we do expect to get some more in. We seem to be hitting our marks more and more this year. On the expense side, down below, we're expecting an increase of 5.9% in budgeted expenditures. One of the major reasons is health insurance that's increasing each year. Also with our pension expense increases as well, and also the bigger one being police expenses as well, going up almost 9%, mainly due to a request of more police officers, but that will be presented at the next budget meeting. I guess we'll get started with our department head budgets, and Phil's going to start off with the community center. That's on page 11-1.
Will we be doing the sewer at another point, the bottom one too?
Sewer? We'll be doing that one in November.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sewer and capital and community groups are all in November.
Thanks.
The community center budget, a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Pool renovation, we've been talking about that for a few years. Rick has adjusted the timelines. We're hoping to do that next fall and get the budget, get the bid out this year. And Karen had suggested we get the paperwork signed so we don't have to wait for the equipment to come, to keep it closed less, which is really critical. So we're looking at 8 months versus 3 months. So that'll keep the revenue coming in, and I think it'll make a lot more people happier. So that's a big change with that, if we can just close next fall for that. The GPCC 25th anniversary is in this budget in a bunch of different areas. It'll be March 29th. We weren't going to hold it, but we are going to hold it now because it'll be 25, and why not, right? If we're open, we should be celebrating. We put some new fitness equipment in through the capital budget. We're continuing to do a little bit of that each year to try to catch up from what we lost during COVID. One of the big things we're going to do is get a new app, just trying to make it easier to do business with us. Now we give people these when they come in, so we're going to get an app, so that this will be on the app. The other thing on the app, which is really nice, it works with our software system. So people will be able to renew, buy new passes, and register with programs through the app. They'll also be able to track their visits on the app. They'll also be able to get announcements and things like that. So the new app being seamless with our software kind of going to make us easier to do business with. So it's about $4,000, but some of that money will be offset because these are expensive and we won't need these anymore. So just trying to be progressive and make it easy to come to the center. Seasonal salaries, we're going to look to increase those, meaning the camp staff. They've kind of fallen behind, so we try to get those up a little bit. Our lifeguard salaries.
Where is that shown?
That would be under programs. No, there's one in the general fund too.
11.5. This program.
Yeah, 11.5.
Program seasonal staff. Yep, 0901 0821 004112. So that's our goal, to get our camp and our teen camp staff salaries up higher to what other folks are paying. So that's why that one went up. The lifeguards, we're comfortable at the $16 an hour with them, so we're not going to increase that this year for the first time in a while. We knock on wood, and it comes in waves, doing pretty well with recruiting lifeguard staff. So, but we have a system that eventually we'll have to give them a little bit of a raise, but that won't be next year. We've done some stuff with the capital budgets, the tables and chairs at the community center. We're getting old and beat up, so it's helped us, and we're getting new tables and chairs slowly.
And where's that show on the?
That is in the capital budget, Karen.
Yeah, so that would be page 12.1.
Yeah.
That's a summary.
We already started some of that, so.
The more detail of that starts on page 12.2. You see on 12.2, the pool pump room there for $2.5 million. That's the biggest expense for next year.
So where did you say the pump room is?
On page 12.2.
Oh,
in the
okay,
middle
so
right
that's
there.
under capital.
Yeah, yep, it's under the capital plan.
Just overall, the building's looking a little worn, so we're slowly but surely gonna try to modernize it, cleaning some of the fixtures and the plumbing. The blinds are a little beat up, things like that. Not all at once, we're just gonna try to do them over a period of a few years, and only the ones that need it. That's what I have for GPCC.
Okay. Did Silver Sneakers, is that going down?
Well, it changes, Karen. See here where it says Renew Active? What it does is the companies change the names of the programs, so it's the same thing, it just has a different name. And there's one pass, so yeah, not as many people have that, depends what they sign up for. So, I think it's getting more popular, Karen, those reimbursement programs. I don't think they're going down, it's just a different name. And then for the parks, I brought some show and tell.
Yeah, so the parks begins on page 9.1.
Okay, so the 5-year capital plan, we're doing a different time then? Item
You
4
can
on
do
the
that
agenda?
now.
Yeah,
That was 12.1 to 12.1.
Okay, so that's what we talked about. Got it, thank you.
You want me to take the Parks Capital?
It's all yours, Rick, and I'll talk about the bricks when we're done.
So, a couple of things I wanted to add for the community center capital. I have a few items in there. As Bill said, we have partition doors. This year, we're doing A and B, and the countertops at room A and B. Next year, we have new accordion door and countertops in arts and crafts and preschool. That's the panel fold door that separates the room into two separate rooms. Also in there, I mean, besides the pump room, I also have a new man lift. Our we have a single-man telescopic lift that's 27 years old, and it's basically out of its useful life. We tried to have someone come in and look at it and see what type of parts we would need, but most of the parts are not available anymore, so we put that, a new man lift in there. And then I believe there's, we have some HVAC unit replacement parts. That's basically capital budget for any large replacement parts to HVAC units and full packs. And we also have, I also put some money in there for locker replacement. There's some of the lockers in the men's and women's locker room have, the doors on the lockers have warped, and they're becoming very hard to close and lock. So we're going to try to slowly but surely replace all those lockers in the men's and women's locker room. And I think that's it for community center capital for me. Parks capital,
That's 8.6.
Oh, so now I gotta go back to.
Kind of bouncing around here.
Recreation programs.
So we don't forget anything.
Yeah, let's
Let's want to stay in order.
let's do the recreation program.
Let's stay in order of the agenda. That way
Yeah.
we won't bounce around too much and forget
Yes.
something.
So starting on 9.1's the
But that's good for the.
recreation programs. This is part of the general fund budget.
A couple of things for the recreation programs, and this could go into capital as well. The monument, the Service and Devotion Monument is 11 years old. I brought some pictures where the bricks are fading to the point where they can't be read. So,
Are they stamped and not etched then, is that?
well, that's a good question. This is what the way they were. They were etched and spray painted. So Karen has suggested we find a new way so that these last longer. There's a company in New Jersey that does it a little bit differently. They etch them, and then they put like a caulk in there. So, and you can feel it, I can pass it around. So then that way, they last longer, you can drive on them.
Oh, wow.
And they're only about $1,000 more expensive. The company that did it originally offered to honor the price, so we could do the same thing again at relatively inexpensive, but we could do that for $1,000 more, and it should last a lot longer. I hope so.
So this would just be for new ones going forward, or?
No,
will
we gotta
the
replace
old
them. You
ones?
can't see them. It's a shame.
Okay.
We can talk about that to tell people that at the veteran ceremony and the Christmas tree lighting, so
Okay.
I can bring those out.
Okay, good.
People are starting to call and ask about it, so, and these are our veterans. you know,
Yes.
So, it's just and then Rick will have them installed. The whole budget for that will be about $14,000, about $10,000 for the bricks, and then about $4,000 for the installation. That's important, I just want to get that out of the way. You know,
And you have all the records, right?
Phil, I'm sorry, where is that in our budget document? I'm just trying to.
It's not, Lynn, it's not in there, it would be, I guess, in the capital, yeah.
Okay.
We've just done the work on that the last month because they've gotten so bad.
Okay.
Have you seen them?
I mean, I can't say I've checked them out recently, but I will make a point to do
Okay.
that.
And I'll show you the solution. Just ask for me some morning. I'll save the prints, so you can,
Sure.
it's just a different process. We weren't the only ones that this happened to, so that the company in New Jersey is closer and easier to deal with. It just, we gotta get it done, you know?
Thank you.
You're welcome. JFK grant, we should hear about that in early November. That would be $200,000 for the project at JFK to do the playground, the parking lot, and some drainage, some planting of trees, so it'd be a great thing if we get that grant. Rick and I talked about a system if we can do JFK next year.
Are we back on 9? Where are we now? On the JFK?
We should,
Are we back on 12 or 9?
we should be on 9 right now, so that, the JFK Park should come a little later. We're still on the
Okay, I'll
recreation
skip
programs.
that, Yeah, all right, well, programs, for our concert series, we put some more money in the for upgrade our bands for the summer concert series. Folks from Plymouth Township were going out of the township to hear some summer music, so we'll try to offset that with sponsors. Seasonal salaries, again, same thing with the folks that work summer playground. We're going to try to get their salaries up. We are going to add a special event in June. The other thing, which, are we at HWP or is that at separate?
That's the next one.
Okay. That's all I really had for the parks, except for HWP.
Okay, then.
Ready?
Yep, for
Yeah.
HWP, yep.
HWP, the one thing I want to do down there is get electronic locks on the doors to the building. Because then I want to use the building more. If scouts and other groups want somewhere to meet, council can set a price. We can set up a system where people can get in and out of there and use the building. And also use it more for programs. But it's just hard to do with a key. So electronic lock, you swipe it, it works when it's supposed to, and then it, we can turn it off if it gets lost, and it's a lot cheaper. I might even be able to find the money for that this year.
And then I guess if, that way the keys can't go missing, and if there's
Correct,
ever a
yes.
problem with breaking in, you can change the
Yep.
combination.
Yes, yeah, yep. Just turn it off. So I don't want to use it until we have that, because the keys do go missing or they get broken and stuff, so.
You stick it in your pocket or your box, and you just
Right.
forget about it when you're
Yes.
packing up to leave at the end of the day.
Right, exactly.
And I just want to interject, I think it's a good idea. The only thing is, when the scouts asked, it was Troop 216, which is the local colonial Boy Scouts, the ones that meet at the Storehouse Church, or at least they used to. They were asking to have free space. Everybody's looking for free space, just so you know that. I know you just mentioned we could charge a fee, and you could
Right.
charge a fee. I don't know if they would pay a fee if they, need to come, if they can find something free. It's hard to find free space. They got
It is.
kicked out of the middle school next door.
Right.
So they were looking, I got an email that they were looking for space. So, I just want you to know,
Is there space at the middle school free?
Yes.
probably. Yeah, they were looking for free space. He asked, do we have anywhere? And I know we talked about getting the youth sports groups, the parent volunteers that run the groups back, one night a month at the community center for free. And this is
We
different
have-
because this is
yeah.
a bunch of kids running around, but.
But this is the township building for those groups.
No, we're gonna
No.
keep them at the community center because there's
We-
nobody here at night, where
Yeah.
there's always somebody there at night.
And they've taken advantage of that. We've had them in there.
Okay, they're starting to come back
They
now?
are. Yeah, Sean
Yeah,
had the
and-
Little League, had a big meeting there a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
But it's just the adults.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is the kids, and it is
Yeah.
different, but, maybe the kids who are in scouts shouldn't be penalized because they're not in sports.
Right.
Not every kid wants to be in sports. So it's just a thought.
It just gives us
everybody's
another
looking for free
option.
space.
Yeah.
But it is a good option for down there because we don't always know.
And it's natural. Then we'll have projects they could work on and, down there. So get some more people in the park. So,
Yeah, they can use, really outside in the nice
And
weather.
the only downside is in the winter, though, we don't plow or snow, or salt, we don't plow the snow or salt the parking lot,
Right.
so they couldn't have a meeting there, because, the
Yeah.
park is closed when it's bad weather. So that's the only
So
other
they can have an
drawback.
alternate meeting space, because Scouts runs all year long.
That's why the
Something for them to
main
think
community
about.
center would be probably
yeah.
more
I'll go
back to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, just wanted to interject that.
While we're on Harry Weatherall, I just have a few line items in that budget, down towards the bottom, 4377, 4379, 4399, maintenance repair buildings, maintenance repair grant. Maintenance repair buildings is, obviously anything that might get damaged or broken or need repaired on the buildings. This year, we're gonna put a new mini split in the classroom. We took the original, the old mini split from Len's IT room, we installed it over there, and we got probably about 6 or 7 years out of it, now it's starting to leak, so we're gonna replace that this year, but that line item is for any kind of repairs we need to do to the buildings. Maintenance repair grounds, that includes fence repair, any type of grading or maintenance of paths, also tree removal, and then miscellaneous services is the fire alarm monitoring, the fire alarm annual inspection, the fire extinguishers inspection, and things like that. So that's,
Any use for the apartment up above the barn out there?
we have to renovate it. It's kind of in the in the demo state from when we did that. I mean, it has new windows, has a new door, has a new staircase to it, but inside, we would need to do some renovations in there. So we don't have any plans for that.
Are you good for that?
I'm good for, that was all I had for.
So then, I guess, the next one is the Parks 5-year plan, page 86. I guess this would be both Phil and Rick.
So, in 2025, the 5-year plan, I have $100,000. I think you guys remember the Little League coming in, asking about the dugouts at East Plymouth Valley Park. The dugouts on Field 1, Field 2, and Field 4 are going to have to be replaced. I guess they're, I originally had this broken out into over three years, but I put this $100,000 in if we want to get them all done at once. I guess the Little League was offering to include that into their project. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but I did put that money into the budget for next year to replace those dugouts.
Okay, so you're doing it all in 1 year instead of over 3 years? Is that how you were planning it?
Do you think it makes it cheaper to do it all in 1 year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess they were saying they needed to know how much the township's going to contribute this. They can use that figure.
Right.
So was it 120?
It was 40 for 3 years, 120. Do them all at once, mobilization, all that kind of stuff is less, so.
Yeah, so we're saving some money.
Yeah. So did you have for field, in 2026?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Should that be field 3 over here? Which one did you want in 20?
Oh, the 40,000, so it's field two dugout?
Show you. Like this
Yeah,
says 1, 2, and 4,
And then the next one
and then it
says,
says 2.
Yeah, I think
What did you want?
that should be out of there. That's not on mine. That shouldn't be in there.
Okay, that would be included there. Okay, we could strike
Okay, so
that.
that comes out.
Yeah, it comes out.
Okay, so it was 1, 2, and 4, and nothing for 3.
3 we just did.
Okay.
Three we did about, now they're not going to match because we did them ahead of this whole thing. We did that about 4 or 5 years ago, but they're relatively new.
They're fine,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, just checking.
Caldwell Park, sand volleyball court renovation, new standards, new net, new border and sand infill. I had that in this year's budget, but we had a retaining wall collapse over there, so I used that money to replace the retaining wall for this year, so I put it back for next year at Caldwell Park. Renovate upper and lower fields. This one, so, we're having major issues this year with the drought with all of our fields. A few years back, we were going to renovate the fields at the community center. We were going to close them down for an entire year, 2 growing seasons, and replace all the irrigation. The fields at the community center are irrigated. The baseball field, the softball/soccer, and the main soccer field are all irrigated. So we were going to do it a few years back, but that's when the school district was under construction, and the school district were using our fields for soccer and baseball and softball. So I was asked by council, could you just put it off a little while? So I think next year, being as the way things are getting beat up, even though they're irrigated, I think that we should close them for a full season. That way we get 2 growing seasons out of them, keep everybody off. Soccer's not going to be happy at all. Phil and I were talking about sending them a letter after the budget's approved and say, hey, those fields are not going to be available next season. I do know that they have recently been able to acquire and use the A field and B field in Conshohocken, so maybe it's not as bad of a hit for them, but I would be willing to do one at a time to compromise with them, do the lower field this year and the upper field next year, but they really need to be done. The irrigation heads all need to be replaced. They're not retracting down. We're hitting with the mowers. And then the next time the irrigation comes on, it's just a flood of water. all the goal mouse and all the areas where the high use areas are, they're all depressed, and water sits in there, and we can't grow grass. So I just want to let you know, because I know that soccer's not going to be happy about it. But again, if we had to do one field at a time, we could compromise that way, but they do need to be closed for, in my opinion, a full growing season.
Is there a drawback to doing one field at a time?
I mean, just probably, it'll probably cost us a little bit more money because, and we may possibly have a different contractor doing, each field if we have to bid these out. So I don't know that there's a real drawback as far as the finished product. I think it'll be fine in the end. It's just that we'll probably have to deal with, maybe deal with different people.
What's the parking area extension at Harriet Weatherall Park for 2029? Where's that going to be?
So that was when you pull into the lot off of Butler,
Yeah.
and you have that little driveway that goes to the left towards the farmers' fields.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the original master plan. That was supposed to go to an additional parking area out in one of the farm fields.
So you're taking away a farm field?
Well, I want to say this is kind of like a placeholder in here. It was in there. I don't know that, it's not something we need to do. It was one of those things that we kind of put it way out in the budget, thinking that it's a possibility.
Does that violate the open space agreement, though?
No.
Because that's not open space. That's no paving open space.
It was going to be a pervious parking lot. I believe it was all approved from the conservation easement and
They allowed it?
Yeah, because it was on the original master plan when they were going to build the nature center there. That was part of, it had a way for the buses to turn around in there. So it was an additional parking lot, but it also was allowed, they were thinking that the school buses would be coming there, dropping kids off at the nature center, and then they could turn around and come back out. It's been pushed down the line for several years. It's really kind of like a placeholder now. I don't know that we'll have to do it, but it was something that was on the original master plan.
So we were going to have a nature center, or was some other organization interested in it?
I think it was supposed to be like a joint project between the school district and the township, and the school district really didn't want to have anything to do with it from what I can remember. There was going to be addition put on that building. There's a big grandiose plan for that park, but
The science department didn't want anything to do with
I
it.
think
So.
the school didn't want to bus kids. It costs them a lot of money to bus kids now, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if they have to do it as part of their curriculum. I don't know, but they weren't interested, I guess.
So we don't really need it then, I guess.
We really don't
Without the
need it.
buses.
It's kind of something that we just keep pushing down in the capital budget. We could take it out if it's not ever going to get done, but kind of leave it in there, I guess, so every once in a while people see it.
Keep pushing it.
Yeah, we can keep pushing it, and
May never get done.
Rick, is there any opportunity for all the parks work in 2025? Like any grants at all that we might be eligible for all that work?
so we have a grant right now in the works for JFK. I think if we find out whether we get that or not, that may open up some of this other stuff for some grants. But I don't know. I don't know if you could apply. I don't know if it's worthwhile applying. Phil might be able to answer that question, whether it's worthwhile to apply while you have one in the pipeline. I don't know.
Well, we'll certainly see here in a few weeks if we get the JFK one. That might slow us down at the state level, because I don't know that they like to fund multiple programs at the same municipality. But
Sure.
I think if we hear at JFK and it's positive, then I think we're good. If not, then we have to decide what else we want to apply for and what's important, so.
Would the pump room ever qualify for a grant, given that we serve so many, our pool serves so many municipalities? I mean, people come from everywhere to use our pool.
They do, we certainly could try. Most of the grants are more outside stuff as opposed to inside stuff, but they're eligible for sure.
So when we put the bid packet together, and I don't know if this answers your question, but there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there, were we thinking about doing a grant for this project, and we, Stacy asked me to,
JFK?
no, for the township, but wasn't there some type of grant money or some money available for the township
But
budget?
I did apply for a RACP grant for this building, but we didn't get it.
Oh, we didn't?
No.
So,
When did we get it?
Well, because you can't, they have to decide, it's, I don't know, worthiness of the, because we're going to go ahead and do the project regardless.
Right.
So they figure if you've got the money, why do you need our money? Pretty much,
so the reason I'm saying, Stacy's our architect. She asked whether we should take that out of the bid packet, and I said yes, because we're doing this, I mean, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I don't know that we can hold off for another year and a half to see if we got a grant, so we took that out of the bid packet. So I don't know if, I guess there are grants out there, but I don't think we have time to apply.
So we're presently waiting on the JFK Park, DCD or DCNR?
It's DCED.
DCD. And we're also waiting, hopefully any day, to hear about the Plymouth Interceptor Phase 3B. So that is a local share account grant. So we've got 2 good-sized grants out there pending. They're not going to give you, 4, 5, 6 per year. I'd be surprised if we got 2 per year. So it's the same Office of Budget and the Commonwealth Financing Authority in Harrisburg. They're going to decide and try to give each, county and then each municipality some share of the money, right? Nobody's going to get it all. So I know, and also we had, was it the Little League wanted to apply for a grant, and we said, no, you're going to be competing against us, so we're not helping you. I mean, we can't, So, but yeah, we have a couple out right now that we're waiting to hear about, and we've gotten others in the past. You just have to take your turn. You can't get one every year. They're not going to,
But
give it to you every year.
one of the reasons we applied for JFK, and I had talked to Representative Scott's office about that, JFK is right on the border with Norristown. There's lots of kids that ride their bikes there and use JFK. So you're thinking, Karen, that it serves more than just Plymouth Township. That's true with JFK too, and we put that in the grant, so.
Yeah, I put in the sewer grant. It actually helps some customers in Woodpane that whose sewage flows into Plymouth pipes before it gets to that Plymouth Interceptor. So when you can make it a jurisdictional grant, you have a better chance. But
So, and just for, I did move JFK over to 2026 on the capital budget. If we do get it, we have 3 years to complete the project, so we would, if we do get the grant, we could do that in 2026.
I mean, if you heard November, would you think of it this year or for 2025?
It'll take us a while to get all that together.
Order it.
Yeah.
To get all the, to get construction documents
Right.
and all that
We're
stuff.
gonna get the plan for the playground, and then we'll have to
Yeah.
get us the parking lot plan, so.
2025 probably be getting it planned, and then construction in
There's going to be a soccer field there, too.
Yeah, why don't you explain, because it's more than just a playground. It's a park rehab, right?
Yeah.
So,
From top to bottom,
Yeah.
we're gonna add a soccer field on the right side. We own the property right next to the parking lot, so we'll expand that and make more parking. We're going to do some vegetation, plant some more trees, do some drainage, and redo the playground. So it'll be top to bottom, and it needs it. JFK
Yeah,
gets a
it
lot of
does.
use. People
Just-
love JFK, yeah, I mean.
We took out the old bocce courts, but we also just recolor coded the tennis court and a multi-purpose court down there, so that was just done this year. So if we do get this grant at JFK, it'll be there won't really be much else to do down there.
you're looking.
There was a baseball field there, but nobody really uses it anymore, so we can turn that into a soccer field. And have more space for the park, so. That's gonna be great if we get that grant. That'll be great for that neighborhood and great for that park. There's a lot of folks down there. And the playground was put in
97.
in the 90s, yeah, so.
Rick, I wouldn't want to throw off the scheduling of some of the work you have planned, but knowing that Colonial Soccer Club might feel like they're taking a hit if we do work on the community center parks, the fields where they play, but there's a new soccer field coming at JFK Park in 2026. I mean, I'll just throw it out. Like, does it make sense to, like, change the order of that work? Like, wait until the JFK Park soccer field is in before we renovate the community center park so that
Well, the soccer
soccer has somewhere to play?
The soccer field that we're adding at JFK Park won't be it'll be I think they call it like a 6v6 or 9. It's a small field. It's for smaller kids.
I gotcha.
I'm hoping that, and we haven't talked to anybody from there, at least I haven't. I'm hoping that the fact that they have now the B field and the A field in Conshohocken might soften the hit for them, because the A field and B field are both lit. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that, it won't be as big of a deal because of that, but I don't know for sure that they got those fields. I just heard that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Sure.
And it's just gonna be ripping off the Band-Aid. It's gonna be a rough year for them. But like with the middle school, their fields were closed for 2 years, and we found places for them to play.
Can the soccer use the school next door? They can ask them.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
they do already. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, well, it's not ideal. Closing anything's never ideal, but, I mean, you're talking about that field was installed like in 97 as well, so it's just beat up.
I wonder if the middle school could help them out, given that we helped out the middle school. Maybe they'll help out the soccer while we
Certainly
do our
ask them.
fields.
And the high school has several turf fields. I don't know how much they can help out either, but
Maybe they could, considering that we helped out the school district when they were building to use our fields, maybe they'll let us use theirs to help us out, or at least help out these soccer clubs.
the only other thing I have in the 5-year is I have a new dump truck, Parks dump truck, $120,000. I did budget $60,000 this year, 2024. I was planning on trading in our truck, it's being somewhere around $90,000, but once I got the quote, the new trucks are $120,000 now. The last truck we bought was $77,000, so I did not spend that $60,000, but I rebudgeted $120,000, so that's what's in 2025.
That's on page 86?
That's gonna be in the capital.
Oh, that's on,
Yeah.
Not the capital.
That's all I have for the Parks capital.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay. Thank you.
Any
Good.
questions?
Thank you very much, Phil. Anyone have questions?
You try to text someone? Oh, there's my phone out there. Do you have like Jack Kalaniak on your phone?
What?
Jack Kalaniak? Do you have their number on your phone?
Kathleen there?
Jack Kalaniak from somebody.
No, I know.
Are they sitting right out there?
Oh, okay.
Were they here for zoning, or are they here for us?
No, they're gonna come in here for the, and I just saw maybe they came to the community center, but I didn't see them out there.
No, they're
They're
down.
hiding.
They're sitting on the benches in the
Thank
hallway.
you.
They can bring them in if they want, unless they're interested in the,
Yeah.
building expenses. They can-
They could be bored out there or bored.
At least out there they can chat.
I know, yeah.
Your space here.
That's all right.
I was just saying,
Trying to keep everything straight. I got 3 copies.
So next is part of Rick's budget, township building, page 7-1.
So, the township building operating budget, not a lot has changed. One thing that, I guess last year and this year, because we're on the new construction, last year there wasn't a lot of repairs to be made. I shouldn't say that, there wasn't any repairs to be made, but we didn't have a lot in the budget because we were under construction. And this year, because we have, we'll have a 1-year maintenance bond on everything. I kind of left out some, I put some maintenance contracts and some maintenance and repair buildings and some maintenance and repair ground stuff in there. I guess what I'll say is I think next year, this budget will be a little higher than it is now because after this, I don't know when we're going to sign these maintenance contract or the maintenance bonds, but we will have 1 year. It's like a 1-year warranty on all the work that they did. Pretty much, everything with the exception, I think electricity we bumped up on Kellen's recommendation. And mostly everything stayed the same. It's very close. Well, it did, I did put in some extra money for maintenance repair buildings, maintenance repair equipment, and maintenance repair grounds, but I think next year that money will be significantly higher once we have to get maintenance contracts for a lot of these components. I don't know if there's any questions on that operating budget.
Anyone?
And the next one, building and grounds, and that starts on 8-1.
Very similar, I guess, to the township, a little bit larger budget, but not a lot of changes. I did bump up a few of the items like groundkeeper agricultural supplies. Some things are just just a little bit more money than they were in the past few years. But for the most part, this budget is very similar. And I think I put an extra $1,000 in there for tree trimming. One thing, I was going over these budgets today, one thing I didn't do, and I gotta ask Kellen, is I didn't put the money for the, we're gonna put porta potty, we started this year putting porta potties in the parks.
JFK and Caldwell.
Yeah, that wasn't in last year's budget, but I forgot to put it in this year's budget. So I think it's a couple things, it's not a lot of money, but I'll have to put that in under like miscellaneous services. So that number may go up, to 67 or 68,000. Not real.
JFK and Caldwell? I thought Caldwell has bathrooms, doesn't it?
Caldwell has bathrooms, but we leave our bathrooms locked.
All right.
So I don't know if they were going to add any other. I know JFK, Caldwell. I don't know if they were going to add to any other parks or not, but.
That's where we had some unhoused folks living, so we felt that it was important to have restroom facilities there.
Yeah, so we, like, the community center bathrooms are open all day, every day, because we have people there. We have someone unlock them, someone lock them, we clean them up before we lock them. East Plymouth Valley, Caldwell, and Harriet Weatherall, we don't open because we don't have someone there all the time. And we tried years ago to do that, and we just got tons of vandalism. But we do, like, if you rent the pavilion, you get the key to the bathrooms. Soccer gets the key. Football gets the key, baseball gets the key, all the sports organizations get the keys to the bathroom so they can open them during their practices or games, and anybody that rents the parks gets it. But we just don't leave them open all day.
Caldwell, you want to tell them about the time they literally took the sinks off the walls and
M80s or whatever, they blew the toilets off the walls and the sinks off the walls, and
So if someone
Don't you have
rents
something
Caldwell,
better to do?
you can't build anything nice. No.
if someone rents Caldwell, they get a key?
yes,
Yeah, you rent the
You
pavilion.
don't have to use a porta potty.
No.
correct.
Emptied all the soap onto the floor and all the paper out of the material. It just left a disaster. Pushed soap all on the floor.
So, yeah, for the parks operating budget, I really don't have a lot of, it's very similar to last year. Probably have a slight increase, partly because of salaries, and then just a few line items that, are just getting more expensive. And also water and electric went up, also the utilities went up.
That's the main thing.
Electricity for every.
Yeah, electricity went way up.
Yeah, it's, we got into a new contract with WGL, and it still increased significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at those numbers. Ooh.
Yep.
At home too, right?
Yes, at home. Increases in that current bill.
Any questions on the parks capital, or, I'm sorry, parks operating? Anything else? Sorry.
You okay, Lynn? Lynn? Oh, okay. Checking that you're still connected.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Is the,
Any questions for Rick?
Nope.
Okay, great.
Parks 5 in there? Or I should have 10, 25 in 5-year plan? Is that township building capital 5-year plan? Is that on there?
That's not on here. No, that'll be at the November meeting. Yeah, the capital.
No questions for Rick, we're up to fire and emergency management. All right.
You can stay if you want. If you really want to. Fire and emergency management, begins on page 5-1.
We had some things decrease, some things increase. Just go through it quickly. One of the first things is uniforms. If you look partway down at 4238, for the budget number, we actually decreased that. Simply because I was able to get a full, after 8 years, I was able to get a full set of uniforms. So this year, we should only be replacing this coming year, I think boots for myself, boots for Mike McGuigan, and then anything that's damaged, or actually probably Mike will get another, not 5 sets, but just a set of stuff. So the uniforms we decreased by $500 since we won't need as much. Vehicle and equipment repair and parts, we decreased that. That was actually increased last year to buy that cap and slider for the current pickup truck we have. That decreased since we don't need them. We're getting that this year. That can come off the budget for next year. The next really increase is protective clothing. That's $42.63. If you look, that goes up significantly to $22,000. Well, proposed is $27,000. So we're at $22,500 increase. The reason we want to do that is we want to purchase 2 self-contained breathing apparatus equipment. We call them SCBA. They aren't cheap. That actually is for 2 of them. We need 4 sets plus 4 we have 4 spare cylinders. The reason we're doing this is because our current SCBA has expired. They're good for and certified for up to 15 years. We are beyond that with the ones we currently have. I have some equipment we just bought this year. It's used, so it gets us a couple years. So what we want to do is over the next 2 years, starting in 2025, and then purchase 2 sets, and in 2026, purchase 2 more sets. Put them in all 4 vehicles. So this way, each one has, what it is, it's the pack you wear on your back with a cylinder in it and a mask. This will also give us a spare mask for each one and a spare cylinder, so that we always have 2 spare cylinders on each vehicle. And each vehicle has it. We each all have them, or if one vehicle's not there but the other one isn't, we don't have to keep switching equipment around. Every vehicle will have a set plus spare cylinder. So that's why that's on there. Again, expect the same thing for 2026. Sets for 2 of those. Going down, we have communications equipment, $42.74. There's an increase because in the past we've been buying the county portable radios and mobile radios. We buy 1 a year just to get us up to date with all the vehicles and all our staff. So we have our portables as well as ones in the cars. What I want to do now is start working on a township mobile radios, which are in the cars. They're out of date. We can't even talk to police right now because of it. Ever since they went to the encrypted system, the old radios we don't have don't work with them anymore. So pretty much the only people we can talk to are fire department and public works. We don't do much talking with public works. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of crossover there, and we can't communicate with police when we need to. So we actually need to replace the mobiles in the cars. So what we want to do is start next year by getting two mobile radios. That's why you see the increase there. Each of these radios is much cheaper than the county radios are, or the 800 radios, as we call them. But you're seeing a little bit of an increase here because we want to get 2 radios. And then the following year we'll get 2 again and start replacing them in the cars. Continuing down the list, hydrant service is next increase. We don't really have any say over that. That's just what the Aqua and Penn American Water Companies charge for hydrant service. At this point, I don't think we added any hydrants on for the last few years, which is good for us. Most hydrants that have been added in are usually the HOAs, the properties, they take on the fees for that. However, the fees that they're charging, even for the ones that are the public ones, which the township pays the fees for, have increased significantly. So that's why you're seeing an increase there. Continuing on, training and seminars, which is $44.60. We're increasing that by $1,000. Simply because the training we're going to, they're charging more for these seminars and everything else. We're required to keep up on all our stuff, do continuing ed, to keep our certifications up, and they're just charging more. The next page, most of that is fire company stuff, so I don't have much input on that. The only one I do have input on is 4742, which is vehicle purchase. I'm recommending again that we purchase a new vehicle to actually replace. What I'm going to suggest is one of our fire inspector vehicles, which is 101,000 miles, a 2015 Explorer. It's got some issues. We're not sure exactly what you get. Check engine light keeps coming on. They change the sensor a couple times. It stays off for several months, and then every time now and then it pops back on. So we're not sure how long that's going to last. The idea here is that if we purchase a new vehicle, I'd like to get my goal here for probably a 20-year plan is every 5 to 6 years replace one of our vehicles. Right now we're using for most of our cars in our fleet of 4 are old police vehicles. And it's usually like every 2 years we have to replace one, get it repainted, re-lettered because using an old police vehicle that's not in very good shape as it is. Last time we replaced them 2 years ago, or last year I think it was, we replaced 2 vehicles that were on their second engines or second transmissions. This year we've been kind of lucky with it. However, we do have one vehicle out now, getting transmission replaced. We don't get around that, it had to be done or we won't have a vehicle. So the idea there is every 5, 6 years, getting a new vehicle and then bumping down the good ones. So what would happen is if we get a vehicle this year, or 2025, I'd actually take my current truck, that would then go to the deputy fire marshal for use there, and then his vehicle would then go to one fire inspector, basically down to the people who use it less and less. So if we're trying to get 20 to 24 years out of every one of our vehicles before we actually have to retire it completely. That's my goal with the overall plan. So you're not retiring my vehicle, it's just being bumped down to somebody who uses it just not as much as I do. The way I see it is, although they're MG tags, just like the police cars are, we're all emergency vehicles, so we need something to respond with in case of emergency. And they have to run, and we can't rely on transmissions going or anything like that. So that's the game plan. I've already looked into it as in past years, and we can actually get vehicles through CoStars. So if you don't know what CoStars is, that came up last year. I don't know how best to explain CoStars. It's a
State contract.
It's a state contract, so we don't necessarily have to go through the bidding process or anything like that.
Already been bid.
It's already been bid. Closest ones around, unfortunately, might be New Holland, or there's one up in Bucks County, or who we can go through for some of these things. But again, we can get cheaper that way. They've done vehicles for that stuff before. So again, the intent is to go through CoStars, and I'm always looking for grants out there to help us out. But that's for the vehicle purchase. Like I said, as far as vehicles go, mine's the lowest mileage is 24. It's 10 years old now. We have a 2015, which is the one that I look to be getting out of service. That's the one with the engine light that keeps coming on. That's got over 100,000 miles on it. And I'm sorry, I don't know if that's on second engine, second transmission, what it is. I know our fire inspector car is just getting its transmission done this year. That's 85,000 miles. And we have an Expedition, which is the turbo. I've already been told by the garage, the turbo is going. I don't know what exactly that means. The turbo is going. It's still drivable, it's just that the turbo is going. That's the Expedition that our Deputy Fire Marshal, our FM2 car is. right now. And like you said, that's where my pickup would go, and then we take that and probably give it to the fire inspector. As long as the turbo keeps holding on, that one fire inspector can have that one, because he won't be driving as much. And not responding on emergencies with that one. The rest of the stuff on that second page, that's more for your discussion. That's really out of my realm.
Yeah, I'll just
to be
go
honest
over
with
it real quickly. 4524, fire company donations. So that's the request that I got from both fire companies. We'll hear the Plymouth Fire Company tonight. We'll hear Harmonville next week. What I did was take their full request, and I took out the repayments that they're going to be paying us with for the firehouse loan and for the vehicle loan. The Firemen's Relief Association, 4529, that's money that we get from the state, and the fire company spends it how they deem fit. And then the real estate tax rebate, 4532, that is the new rebate line. The real estate tax rebate for all the firefighters that live in Plymouth Township. So that's basically all the ones that Mike didn't get into. But
And the Firemen Relief Association, I'll just let you know, we get that check and it directly, cut
It
it.
goes right to,
pass through, right back to the fire companies.
yeah, so you'll see that on the revenue side as well.
It's not discretionary for us, it's a wash, yeah.
So they each get a half of that?
They work together, Karen. They have one, you guys probably know more about it.
There's-
It's one union relief meeting or
Association, yeah.
association for the both fire companies in Plymouth. And they each have delegates on the board and they work together to get, and there's only certain things you're allowed to use the money for.
Yes.
And they work together and they have forever, right? on
Yeah,
that.
the state it's done through the Auditor General's office.
Insurance money,
And yes,
foreign
there's-
insurance policies or something.
They can use it for training, they can use it for certain kinds of equipment. And the Union Relief Association is signed for the township. So when the state gives the money, that's what's supposed to go to. And then out of that association has to divvy it up amongst the fire companies or the usage they need to. So they are restricting what they can use out of that or what they can use it for. They can't just use it for any little thing. It is a separate thing, so they actually have to have separate meetings on it, separate minutes on it, the whole 9 yards.
Separate checkbook.
Separate checkbook, separate everything on that.
And they do get audited by the state auditor
Yeah.
too.
And they audit every year.
Yeah, they come.
They may come
They
3
definitely-
years from now, but they'll do all 3 years.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely audit the money and make sure you have the proper
yeah.
usage of it.
More often, it's been more than a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years. But, yeah.
But they are regulated with that.
But we
Because
hand
the state
check
sees it as
over.
being state money and on rare occasions, they've gone back to certain places in the state and told those relief associations, you've been misusing the money.
Put back in there.
It
Yeah.
comes back out, you owe us the money back. So,
So they're careful.
That was other places.
Yeah.
yeah, no, that wasn't here. Thankfully, it wasn't here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't get any money out.
You don't want to.
Okay, we'll move on to zoning.
Yeah, it's page 5.3.
And really, the only changes there is increase in the salaries and increase in the vehicle maintenance and repairs. You can see, we already spent $3,912 this year as of the end of September. And I asked for to increase it from $2,000 to $4,000. 5.4 will go to building department. And I guess we'll have to talk about the regular part-time for building since she's leaving.
We had a full-time employee who asked to go part-time and we said yes because that made a lot of sense. She was fully trained and it made a lot of sense to keep her. But then just recently, she decided even that was too much, and she really just didn't want to work. So, Jim would like to go back to his full-time person because we really needed a full-time person.
Yes, we do need a full-time person.
So that's, yeah.
So the attendance incentive should go back to 8 also.
So pretty much for next year, budget for what 2024 was, but with like a 4% increase. something around there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Figure for 2 full-time people now.
Got it.
The only other thing there was office supplies. I increased that by $1,500 because we're actually purchasing our own toners and everything now. It makes more sense, but I'm already up to $4,500 as of the end of June, or end of September. And then there's a $12,000 office equipment addition in there, which is a total of $15,000, which will cover a new plotter. Our plotter's 10 years old. The plotter's what we make, like
Engineered size drawings.
engineer drawings and stuff.
By
And
36.
we're actually putting our, instead of having the
Kinkos or something.
maps of the township, having bulk, we can actually print them in-house.
It's also what you've used to scan all the old record plans and lots of engineered drawings that we have, lots of buildings, everything you had.
Yeah.
It all scanned in, and then you could say, oh, that's.
It's all digital.
123 Main Street, and then it's, attach it to the parcel, and it goes both ways, right? You can scan.
Yes, you can
things
scan
in,
it.
Or you could print things out.
And now this one's actually going to be color, so the color maps we have will be colored.
Oh, nice.
Everything else before was black, white, or grayscale.
Yeah.
And if you want to imagine scanning something in, you can scan pages like this in, but what the plotter does, it takes pages that are size of each of these tables.
Yeah, up to 4 feet wide. It
Yeah.
would take
Yeah.
48 inches, you could
Well,
copy.
3 by 4.
3 by 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could make another page that large or scan it.
And it goes down to, well, the one we have now is 11 by 17, it's the smallest. It has 2 different things. And the new one, we can actually go 4 foot wide if we want. It'll actually hold 2 rolls, which is a lot better, so we don't have to turn the page sideways to put it through to make the copy.
We used to take everything to Kinko's, and years ago, they were $5 a piece. I don't know
Yeah.
what.
It'd be much more than that.
10 a piece now. But we used to scan everything and keep everything almost paper-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a meeting tomorrow. Hopefully by the end of this year, we will be pretty much paper-free.
Yeah. Color is really important for us because we've gotten the plans now that have markups or things in color. Again, scan them now, they're just black and white grayscale. You don't see those things stand out.
And when the reviewers review them, they use red. Anything they put on there is marked in red, so it stands out. So that will actually show,
Actually stand out.
yeah. So that's the biggest thing there. And then I also increased my training budget by $500 because training's getting high, it's getting expensive. Moving on to code enforcement. Miscellaneous supplies, I increased by $500. We're already at $1,084 this year. And I'm taking it to $1,500, trying to stay on our budget. Computer hardware, we'll be getting a new computer over there, which is $3,000, but that's been that way. And the money's always in there for the computers. Some years I use it, some years I don't. And this year I think we lost 2 computers. And postage and mailing, didn't we decide to put all of that under zoning? Yeah, so that 500. And then training seminars for code enforcement, I increased by 500.
Tim, I'm sorry, you mentioned a full-time person going, like the person was full-time, went to part-time, now going back to full-time. Where is that here? I'm sorry, I just lost track of that.
That was under building, page 5-4,
Thank you.
okay?
I guess we lowered the full-time line because she said she wanted to be part-time. And now she wants to leave altogether. So we'd really like to go back to the full-time person because it makes the most sense.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah. We're a little
That's not reflected right here.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not reflected, it
But she
just
just,
happened
she
last
just
week.
gave her,
I think it's 4111 is the part-timer.
Yes.
yes.
There's
right
a
below it. That
line
went-
item, so when we
So that went up and the
discussed
other
it,
went down, and then, yeah.
okay, and I think that's pretty much all I have.
Yep. I'll send it.
Do you have, anybody have any questions for Jim?
No, thanks, Jim.
No problem.
Or Mike, you?
Thank you. Thank you.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire company has their own.
But I was gonna say, where is
One sec, Karen.
book you need? Got it.
Spotlights.
Yeah, these two are already won.
Like, how are you?
What the hell were you doing in Tampa?
Milton wasn't even a name when I left. Milton wasn't a thing when I left. And then, so,
How are you guys?
I was visiting my
Good,
brother
thank
who's
you.
ill. So, yes, we were not sitting on a beach.
No, I didn't think so.
No, we weren't. But, I mean, Milton wasn't.
They probably couldn't
wasn't
get out
even
of-
named- He wasn't even named yet.
Couldn't even get a flight probably anywhere.
Oh, no, the airport closed and the flight got canceled anyway, so.
Thank you.
Got stuck.
I talked to other people who
There you go.
down there and they drove home. They rented a car and drove home.
Well, you know, everybody told us we should do
Remember
that.
we
but
had the Plymouth Fire Company budget presentation, so there'll be a copy for you, okay? He's sick today. And not sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, yeah. You're welcome.
Ready, Ken?
What's that?
Okay. You don't know me. I'm Sheldon Simpson, President of the Fire Company. Fire Chief John Laniak and our Treasurer Jack Laniak. We do some presentations of the budget and some other materials for you to consider tonight. So with that, we'll start with Jack.
Well, first thing I want to say is I appreciate the change in time for us because the chief and his associates will be going out next week out to Wisconsin to do the final inspection on the new truck that's coming in.
Yeah,
And we wanted,
a dull
obviously,
October turned into a very
wanted
busy
him to
end
be
of
here
October on his
tonight. So I appreciate the move. I thank both.
Trick or treat, this is a treat.
So, you presented all the financials, the requests. I'm sure you've had at this time some time to review what's in there. A lot of our requests this year comes down to two main items. The chief to speak to the career employees. That's a big item that we're looking at, so I just want to turn that over to the chief for his input, and we'll take questions afterwards.
Again, thanks for accommodating us short notice. It's greatly appreciated as we ramp up for these projects at the end of this month. Again, I'm John Oleniak, Fire Chief. I know you all have seen me the last handful of years, at least the last three, for the budgetary purposes. I come to you again this year, just as our treasurer said, the main focus, just as it has been for 3 years prior to this one, our main objective, our main goal, to ask for an increase in monies for us is for our paid staff. Currently, as you can see, and I'm sure you've read and are aware, we employ 2 employees for 8 hours a day for a 5-day work week. That time frame they work is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. 5 days a week. What you'll see in the presentation, which I'm sure you've had some time to look at, is I understand first and foremost, and just to get it on the table, that it's a large sum of money. It's not some chump change there, $90-some thousand. We are well aware of that, and in no way, shape, or form we would ever try to pose that as, well, this isn't a lot. We understand that it is quite a bit in terms of percentages as increased for budgetary reasons. However, as I've said in the past, in the 1970s, Plymouth Fire Company took on one paid driver. We didn't get we weren't able to put a second paid driver on without assistance from this township until the early 2000s, about 2001 or 2002, when we finally started to employ 2 employees, and we've been doing that now for well over 20 years. This township, as you know, has evolved and it continues to grow. Projects on the horizon will increase how many people live here with high occupancy commercial real estate, as well as the visitors we see each day and each weekend, especially around the holidays, for all the retail space that we currently have and that we may be adding in the future. As this township evolves, it is my belief, just as in the last 3 years, that we need to continue to evolve as not just the fire department, but the emergency services, and we need to prioritize that. We've been status quo for over 20 years, and we've been making do. We've been doing quite well, thankfully, and we haven't had we've had major fires and incidents, but we haven't had tragedies, and we haven't had loss of life, and we haven't had major injuries, which we're very thankful for. And I attribute that to the day-to-day that we do and the training that we have and the professionalism that we display each day. However, what you'll see in the presentation, we referenced the NFPA 1971 standards. Those are national standards for the fire service that we follow, Harmonville follows, with almost everything we do, from our equipment, our apparatus, what equipment we carry, what training levels we must meet to get on a fire truck for you all each day. You would expect nothing else of us. We would expect nothing less from ourselves. Where we're not meeting these standards is the staffing levels for a workday. We're a volunteer organization. More than 95% of our membership have careers. They have day-to-day jobs. We are fortunate to have some shift work individuals that may be around on a random Monday or Wednesday or Friday during the day, but it's just not consistent. We are asking for the increase in funding to go to a third full-time employee. As we broke down, you can see in the presentation. I won't go over that with you since you have that in front of you. The reasoning is the minimum standard for the NFPA for an engine or a ladder coming out of a firehouse is 4. For a high hazard area, which Plymouth Township is considered, it's actually 5 or 6. We know.
What does that number mean?
What number?
The 4, the number.
That is certified interior firefighters leaving on the fire truck when the alarm goes off.
Got it.
Okay. We meet that standard as volunteers after 6 p.m. daily. When we get incidents after 6 p.m., when everybody's home from work and are settled with their families, thankfully they come out, and we meet that standard consistently with our incidents. Where we're not meeting it is between that 7 to 8 a.m. time frame up until about 5 or 6 p.m. when everybody's still coming home from work and still working. We've been leaving with 2 firemen. We cannot fight a fire with 2. So when we get there and a house is on fire, one person's driving and operating that piece of apparatus. That second person cannot move and go into that burning building to affect life-saving measures or putting any fire out from the inside until we get the help. We're thankful that we have automatic aid. We changed those policies and procedures 4 years ago. We're getting automatic aid from all of our local surrounding municipalities. However, they're only coming with 2, maybe 3. The 3 being the paid staff that Norristown Borough is obviously able to employ. But our local municipalities, other than Conshohocken Borough, they're coming with the same 1, 2, or 3 with a lack of volunteers. Everybody's seeing the same problems, okay? We're not meeting that standard by any means. And what I'm asking for still won't meet that 4 or 5 standard. I know that, but we need to get closer. We need to evolve at least closer so that when we do have the 1 or 2 volunteers that may be around, we come much closer to maintaining our level of staffing and the service we can provide that we're providing from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m., 7 a.m. the next morning. We're just not meeting that standard, and it's becoming a safety risk. That's also not encompassing the fact that if I have a paid staff or a paid employee who takes off for a sickness, a vacation, I'm struggling to get 1 replacement just to maintain the 2 because our part-time staff, as you can read, they have their careers too, right? They may be firemen elsewhere. So if I get lucky that the day they're off, they may be able to fill in that short notice job. Otherwise, there's been more than 15 times this year alone that I have had to have only 1 paid firefighter on duty for 8 hours in a day with no volunteers available because they're at work providing for their families. With 3, on a consistent basis, we'd have 2 firefighters to effect life-saving measures, extinguish a fire while 1 operates the apparatus. If 1 takes off, we can have a bigger collection of part-time employees that we can potentially pick from to maintain 3. If nothing else, we at least maintain the 2 that we've been currently staffing right now, which is as good as it can get in those particular circumstances. We have an uphill battle. We have a lot of obstacles that we cannot control. We understand that money can't just be created for these types of projects because there's a lot that this township has to budget for in 1 year. We understand that. But we have continued to do our best and make do with 2, and we run over 600 emergency incidents in a year. This year alone, we're already at the 500 mark. So we anticipate we'll be well over 600 for this year in the last 3 months of the year. So far, percentage-wise, out of over 500 incidents, more than 70% of our incidents have come in between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. More than 60 to 65% of those alarms have been answered by just the 2 people that we have. In some instances, it's been 1 when someone was ill or we couldn't find a replacement on short notice. We're thankful that there wasn't a fire that day. The good news was from last year, we were very thankful for the increased funds that you did provide, you were able to provide for us for some part-time staff. For the better part of the second half of the year, we have been able to add a 3rd employee part-time 2 days a week. In those 2 days, we have already seen an increase in our response time, given the uphill battles with the construction projects that have already added 6 minutes or more to our response times, given Ridge Pike. The bigger issue there is our automatic aid. It's preventing them from getting into town quick, too. Okay, we can't control that. We understand that. We're trying to make do and going up and around, but they have to do the same thing. So essentially, in those days, we have extended our coverage, again, until at least 4 p.m. It's been a minimal help, but still better than 3. It's only been 1 for that hour. We at least maintain a qualified apparatus driver while some people are starting to trickle home from their day-to-day jobs. It's worked. It's only been 2 days, but we're thankful for it. But what we have is we have the numbers and we have the call logs to show that it's working, to better our response times, to better our manpower for when that incident happens. And it is not an if, it's a when. We won't get lucky forever, unfortunately. The incident will happen where we'll get there first. We'll be waiting for our automatic aid coming down Ridge Pike and up Ridge Pike, and we'll be waiting. We're thankful Harmonville gets there pretty quick, but to effect a firefight per these same standards, within 9 minutes of a house fire, I need 15 people there to manage the incident, not mitigate the incident, to manage the incident. I then need more based off of what's in front of me. Even with our automatic aid, I'm still not at 15. And we're certainly not helping ourselves only showing up with 2 for the first 3 or 4 minutes. That's all it takes with a fire. 3 or 4 minutes of not being able to do anything, we just went from putting your kitchen out to losing your whole house, potentially. So we know it's a lot to ask for. We have maintained high standards for increasing our volunteer manpower. We are in the process of the same recruitment and retention grants that Harmonville has gone through, Conshohocken is currently utilizing. We're in very good shape there with that paperwork. We're very optimistic that will come in the new year. But again, that still doesn't help us with that paid staff time frame from the 7 and 8 a.m. to the 6 p.m. hour. That's what we're asking for. That is our priority. I can answer any questions about any standards, what we've been doing, what's so far happened this year with the manpower, the extra guy that we have put on from day to day. Any sort of questions you may have. I know this is kind of a foreign language for most of you. I would expect it to be. I'd be happy to answer anything. But this is the priority. We have to keep evolving. We've been handling it with 2 people for over 20 years. It took us forever to get 2 people, and we were thankful for that. But it's just time. We need the help. We know we have money in certain accounts, but we can't empty those things out because of the ever-growing cost of equipment and apparatus, as we've been over in years past. We're doing our best to be frugal, and we're thankful that between the treasurer, the administration, and our personnel, we are very good with the monies that we are granted and that we have. So we're trying to stretch it out and do our best, but it's getting to be too much in this day and age for just the two. So again, I thank you for your time. If there's any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I see the heads are spinning.
I'm finding everything in my head as it comes up automatic aid. I know what that means.
Yeah, so just to go into that, when I took office in 2021, we always had automatic aid, but now we have automatic aid for more than just the house fires and building fires. We have it for high hazard, high occupancy real estate, so all of the apartments and things like that. It used to be just us in Harmonville. We now add automatic aid for gas leaks and fire alarms because you need the manpower for the floors. We are utilizing paid firemen from other jurisdictions. We are happy to have that mutual aid agreement with those municipalities at no cost to the township. So we are fortunate that we have some great firemen in the towns next door to us. But again, we still have the uphill battle in getting them to our town from a distance quickly while we're sitting there. And I know the $90-some thousand we are asking for is a lot of money, but comparatively speaking, a full-time fire department for this township that we're thankfully not having to burden you all with, that's $11 to $15 million a year, right? So comparatively speaking, in terms of monies, it is quite substantially lower than that. So we just need to act and keep evolving because, as you guys know, and as I'm sure you've heard in other budget presentations, this town isn't getting any smaller, and we know it's hard, but we're going to try to keep up and maintain a high level of safety for however many people we can fit into town and for any projects that you have forthcoming for us. So,
If I can throw a few things out about the financials, that's what we're here for. We can pull this off. We've tried to put together a budget that you have in front of you, as bare bones as we can, trying to save $1 here, $1 there. And you'll see in there the presentation, basically, this is a $97,000 project, okay? Can we do it for less? Maybe. If you were to put a gun to my head and say, what's the minimum you can do this for increase-wise, it would have to be $60-some thousand. And even that's going to be risky because it leaves no contingencies. We would have to be jumping into our reserves, which the reserves are not just there waiting for something to happen. Those reserves are there for future purchase of apparatus, et cetera, okay? And that's not to mention, and some of that money is sitting there to take care of the building. I mean, you can't totally neglect that either, okay? Even though that doesn't go into the firefighting aspect of things, it's still what houses the apparatus and the firemen and the equipment, et cetera. So, that's what we're looking at, okay? The other big part of the finances has to do with the reason we have to be here tonight and can't come next week is fire truck. The cost of apparatus is through the roof, and we're a captive audience, okay? There's very few manufacturers anymore, okay? And if you look in the area, it's almost becoming the point where it's almost one manufacturer because of their quality. Just about every fire company in this area, including the city of Philadelphia, is now going to one manufacturer, and that's Pierce out of Appleton, Wisconsin, which is where they're going next week. The truck that we're picking up, originally we had budgeted, when you go back in the previous budget forecast that we submitted, we thought that'd be an $800,000 fire truck. It turned out to be $907,000. We take advantage of every discount we could get. We got it down another $12,000 by paying some money up front, which you probably read in the financials, okay? So the township over the last 2 years has given us additional money each year to the capital donation basically we use that capital fund that the township monitors for us for fire truck apparatus, okay, for purchases. Over the last 2 years, that's increased $15,000 from the original $100,000 a year to $115,000. Based on those numbers I gave you, you can see that I'm ready to say a drop in the bucket, but it's getting to be that way almost, okay? Fire trucks, are now well over $1 million. The aerial ladder trucks with obviously the big aerials, buckets on them, are now coming close to $2 million. And you can see even at 100 and some thousand a year that we're putting away, and we try to put a little bit away ourselves when we can. I don't know where the money's going to come from. That's something that the fire companies and the township are going to have to deal with.
Everything we do with our apparatus, equipment, personnel, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, is part of this project that we come to you for today, right? We know between us and Harmaville, we just built 2 fire trucks that we needed to replace. We're all downsizing. Not because we wanted to downsize or we felt that it was actually the safest thing to do is to downsize apparatus because we had great equipment. The affordability and where we need other money to go to nowadays, you had to give and take. So just like Harmaville, we downsize. We'll now have 3 major pieces of apparatus that we're combining things into to still maintain the level of service that we've always provided for over 100 years. So again, we've been frugal, we've been financially savvy with trying to pinch and figure out how we can combine things to save money in other places so that we could potentially try to do some of these projects like this personnel project. In terms of apparatus and the money to the capital account, you have the capital or you have the replacement plan for our apparatus. We've skipped some. Again, not because we wanted to or because those trucks weren't over 20 years old, but when it came push to shove, we had to look at what's more important, and that's what I come to you today with is a project that was more important than replacing a 25-year-old piece of apparatus or a 20-year-old piece of apparatus. So we've skipped those, right? They still maintain because eventually they'll fall apart, they'll rust out, and we will have to replace them eventually. But in the replacement plan, if it was due in 20 years, we're going to try to squeeze 30 years out of it the best we can. It may nickel and dime us, but again, it's better than a major expenditure for a piece of apparatus. So again, just as Harmaville is doing, we are trying to remain as financially responsible as possible to really prioritize what's needed the most. We've been very good, especially in the last 5 years, of the difference between want and need. This personnel, this third employee is a need, right? An extra pickup truck or an extra water rescue vehicle, that would be a want in years to come, and we understand that. So we're just trying to show that good faith, especially because of that astronomical cost of everything, and it's going to keep rising, that we're doing the best we can, and we are going against the grain a bit with what we have in front of you so that we can show you we're doing our best to hold off on certain things so that we can really prioritize what we come to you with today.
Thank you for the joint replacement plan. Makes it easier for council.
Very much so, thank you.
Yeah, it's good that we have that plan because there's a lot of people who, a lot of companies and departments around us that don't have that luxury of having that plan in place, and they scrounge and it's chaotic when something goes wrong. We understand too that while it is on paper, we never know what tomorrow may bring with $1 million pieces of apparatus that can do break, any sort of catastrophic failure, knock on wood, that we have not had. So we always try to stay as linear as possible with the replacement plan as best as we can for resale value and making sure that we're able to get equipment on time, because a new fire truck will take you 5 years from purchase day now. So it used to be a year or two and you'd get it. So we have a lot of uphill obstacles to battle with a lot of different things, and we are doing our very best to remain as faithful and strong and transparent as we can for you all. So again, I appreciate the time it took for you guys to listen to that spiel. Again, I'm available tonight or at any point by phone, email, if you had any questions about what's in there, a figure question or a standard question, because it is a foreign language to most. I'd be happy to answer it for you at any time while you are making your decisions for the budget year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody?
Karen, what's the fire tax bringing in now? I know they raised it a couple of times.
I think it's 1.3. Yeah, about 1.4 million.
That's all I have for you if there's no other questions.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it again. Thank you for being accommodating. We thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Promise me this week, it's going to be written.
I heard from Sami,
We'll take the
you
25.
get back to me by the end of the week for the bank.
Yeah, I told you, I have a conflict.
Yeah, because
I'm just to the Capella, just so I can.
Rather than the back and forth on our side, it's easier for us. It might be easier for you, but it might be easier for us. But here's this as a two-page.
For dinner.
No, I'm saying whatever
The
you
Harmonville
guys want
one's
to do is
like
fine with us.
I went through them.
Here you have a wedding.
A Seymour,
You to change
Mike's
it.
office, the attorney from Mike's.
Two weddings.
Two
weddings.
exactly.
On the same day. We'll be out of service that day.
Service after the.
Harmonville, Conshohocken, and White Marsh will be taking care of our work, at least that day, since about 90% of us are going to be at either one of those two events. So.
I'd like.
Well, that was part of the conundrum, because there were plenty of people that were invited to both, because we're so close as families.
Coming, it's just, it's that agreement, and it's.
You know, you just gotta choose politely and decline respectfully for the others, so.
I'll have to be honest with you.
I couldn't go to one because the other one's my cousin.
Okay.
Couldn't go,
That's what I
couldn't
couldn't
really
believe it was so
swing
long.
both.
That's.
If I could, I at least would, 2 cocktail hours would be great, but couldn't swing it.
Can't if we're.
So.
Always have that
Split the difference
So we're taking it from the.
from 2 to 1.
Oh,
Get all the gossip.
that's strategic, that's a smart plan.
So.
Thank you very much,
I know.
everybody.
Again, guys, thank you so much, we hope to see you next weekend.
Once they get done with the final inspection, if they don't find anything major wrong with the build, they're gonna probably wanna deliver that truck within a couple of weeks. At that point, once they bring the truck here, they're gonna want,
I have my grandson.
we would have to take your check, run it through our accounts and give them one, because some of the money's coming from our apparatus account
I
also.
usually do it.
He promised me, like, today, tomorrow, early this week, so I can get it, I have to get it on the agenda, which has to be posted before Friday, before we leave for next Monday. And I want it on the agenda, you're known and Harmon.
So you're looking at the approval from council, I mean, the vote for approval at the November meeting,
No, October 28th.
October 28th.
Yeah, so they can put anything on here that comes before them.
Okay,
So that is my plan, I need it from the attorney, but.
No problem.
That's my plan.
no problem.
Yeah, guys, have a
Again,
great night, thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Right.
I have a question. Do you think that, was he trying to suggest that maybe we should raise the fire tax or whatever?
You know, when you ask, and that's a possibility.
Yeah.
That is a possibility, but also, that money that is raised with the fire service fee, it has to be used on emergency services now. Meaning that, and that could include police.
Yeah.
But we call it a fire tax. So if you took the 2 capital payments of, first, when he said that, I jotted it right down.
Yes.
I'll ask you when that agreement will be ready.
So where is he going? So the question, I know we give almost like $500,000 each, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the 230 in capital that we keep here. So now you're like almost at $1.2 million. And the other 200,000, we pay a lot of health care, we pay a lot of insurances, we have in-kind services, we mow their lawns, we pay their telephone bills.
These are for the
we give them
fire
gasoline, so is that other 200,000 really taken up also by the fire service fee? But we can't, if you had 200,000 left over, you can't put it in the general fund and use it in the Parks Department. You cannot do that.
Right.
You can use police expenses toward that and emergency services. So it's generally been the fire service. It could include police. It cannot include parks or
Code enforcement. or-
anything
They're
that's
asking for
related.
another full-time employee, it would go with
Yeah.
that, right?
I'm sure it could. Of course it could. Of course it could. And
Anything that fire or police does, it can go towards.
emergency services, yes.
Yeah.
It has to go that. So if we get a 1.4 million, we have to be sure we're spending 1.4 million or more, and we always are because the police budget is like 8 or 9 million.
Right, exactly.
It's really not a worry, but that was my first thought, is you're
Yeah.
trying to make sure that 1.4 is going to the fire companies, the 2.
Yeah.
And or should it, in his mind or their minds be increased so that it does provide for more coverage. But There's 2 full-time here and 3 full-time at Harmonville. So in the township, there are 5 full-time.
Right.
Unless it's early in the morning, later in the afternoon, and, if they're off
Yeah.
shift, if it's past 3 o'clock right now, there's not a guarantee of 2 till 5 o'clock. Their extended hours would be, if they worked 4 10-hour shifts, would be 7 a.m. to 5, 4 days a week, right?
Right.
4 10s. But right now, they're 7 to 3.
Because they have to split it the 2 over
8 to 3.
well, 5 days.
7 to 3, 5 days, yeah. 8
Versus
hours,
with
5.
3, they could do it.
So between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, if the guys are gone, the career guys are gone, and they don't have that many guys home from work yet, that's where they could be missing response. And I don't know the hours that the Harmonville paid crew is in, but at that point, they're relying on volunteers.
Right. And then there's
Yeah.
not, they're not getting a lot of volunteers, right?
Well, that's.
What are the-
Harmonville right now says they're doing better. They've done a lot of advertising, and that cost a lot of money to do that big campaign they did.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure, how many volunteers they can get between 3 and 5. He said, like, after dinner and all day Saturday and Sunday, they've got volunteers.
Right.
It's just
It's that specific.
critical.
Yeah.
People getting ready for work in the morning at 6 o'clock, they cannot run to a fire, depending on their job. Most
Right.
may not be able to. They have to go to work.
So where does that that tax or fee, what does that come out of for me?
It's on your tax bill.
Oh, it is on my tax bill.
It's
Okay.
a line item.
You'll get 4 lines on your real estate bill. You'll get.
Oh, yeah, I don't
Township.
even look at
Well,
that.
goes right to your mortgage.
Just look at the bottom line, when do I have to pay?
Those go right to the mortgage company, right? People-
Yeah.
It's our millage, it's the fire service fee, it's Montgomery County, we collect for them, and the community college. So ours, that's 4 lines.
okay.
You heard somebody talking recently about, like, in the city of Philadelphia, they have a stormwater line.
Right.
Some places have a fire hydrant fee, because you see, we're paying over over $100,000 in, that's standby, you don't have to use one drop, and it's $100,000 a year.
That's nuts, because
even
we
for,
have
like,
enough for the kids to play in, like some places.
Sometimes you see street lights as a fee, because Whippane doesn't have very many street lights,
No, Whippane is
not in their neighborhoods.
general
Historic.
fund, debt service, hydrant, fire tax.
Oh, they put a hydrant tax on?
Yeah, there's a hydrant
So
tax.
they
You have to be
take-
so many feet within it to pay it.
Okay.
I forget how much feet you have to be within, but if you're not within that many feet, you don't pay the tax.
And you don't get water if your house is on fire?
I have no idea. That's.
I mean, I'm sure you gotta get water if your house
It's not within a certain distance, they gotta lay extra line to get to you.
I hope you do. That's what I heard.
Interesting.
That's how it is, because I was wondering, when I saw a couple of bills, I was just like, well, how comes?
Some people have it, some people don't.
Yeah, it didn't come out correctly proportionally, and I was just like, well, and then I found out some don't need to pay the tax because they're not within so many feet of a hydrant. It's,
It's interesting.
Very
I
interesting.
wonder what happens then.
Yeah.
I can double check.
I think they have to lay extra hose, or just bring trucks with a little bit of water on board.
It's very few houses there that don't
They
have to.
don't. Yeah,
Very
I
few.
would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is just so expensive. Like,
Mhm.
now the
Yes.
cost of everything is going up.
Everything is. It's so true.
Yeah.
Everything. No, you hear about groceries every day, but
Well,
you don't
right.
hear about all these
Exactly.
utilities and fire services and salaries and everything else. Yeah.
Like, no wonder they're giving people raises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they recently did some of the things they put in the back of the book, like benefits. They didn't used to have any kind of a pension benefit. Now they're matching some, they put so much in, they'll match. They're giving them some life insurance, some disability insurance, and things they never had before.
So their overall request was 97,000 extra
Yes.
from last year.
Right.
For the
And
full-time
that's almost like a 20% increase. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's high. We usually probably give them 5% or 4% or something like that.
I think it's around 5% each year.
So it's a lot more. All right, let's keep moving, so.
All right. So we'll go to page 2-1.
Is Lynn still with us? Lynn?
Hi.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
So page 2-1, that starts the revenues. The first section is real estate taxes. I have proposed a 1 mil increase, not a 1 mil increase, a 0.1
I
mil
wondered
increase.
about that.
Yeah, it's a 0.1 mil increase, which is about a little over 5%. I know it's a extra 160,000 a year. I have it somewhere here in my files that shows what it does per household.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Where's that?
I have it in here somewhere. So right here, a house that's assessed at 180,000, it would be about $18 more a year. At a commercial property assessed at 10 million, it would be $1,000 more a year.
It seems reasonable.
Can you say the first part again? A house appraised at what?
180,000
Assessed at.
assessed at. It would be $18 more a year.
And is that our?
So if you double that, does the tax per year then just double? Is that how it works? I don't. I'm just
Yeah,
curious because I'm thinking like there's not many houses that would be.
This is an assessment.
Yeah, this is
Sell it
a-
at, not what you
Assessed.
sell it
Not
for.
Not
bought
what
at.
their value is.
Got you.
It's not fair
Okay.
market value.
And so the
I wonder
assessment's
what my assessed value is.
a lot less than what you could get if you sold
You
it.
can actually go on the county website and find
And
out.
look it up.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and 0.1 mil is an additional $18 a year? Is that what you're saying, Kelly?
Per household of
Per house assessed at
180,000.
180,000.
Yep,
And that is the average assessment?
very close to it,
To the
yeah.
average.
So they only assess every so many years.
Right. It's been decades since.
I was gonna say, when was the last time they assessed?
It was probably in the 90s.
Okay.
Carol Klopp was still our finance director. That was before Tim and before him. So, yeah, probably 28 years or something.
Do you have thoughts, Lynn? That sounds like you have thoughts.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I mean, I hate to raise taxes. I mean,
Yeah.
we all do, but I mean, just looking at like the overall budget, like the deficit and your point, Kristen, like the cost of like everything increasing. You know, I'm wondering if it makes sense to slightly increase even that, you know, the mill rate increase. I don't know.
With the police looking for 4 more people,
know.
and if we do that, and the fire looking for 1, I mean,
Yeah.
so now you're talking about salaries and increasing every year, and
Do we do like after we do the official budget, do we like do like a budget summary to the community, like communicate that somehow? Where we could say, here, we're raising, like your taxes are being raised, but look at all the things that you're getting. I mean, I'm not asking you,
The budget document always goes online.
it does the full budget document?
Yeah.
Really?
is there a summary that will explain, you know, the money we're having to give to build a new Harmonville fire?
Yeah.
Can always put that
I
in.
think that would be helpful to
And
have
the-
a summary
And the
of some
interceptor,
sort.
I mean,
Yeah.
before you tell people to pay more, but look what they're getting for it. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Like,
The-
it's usually, when we're presented, it's revenues and then expenses. I think they lead with the expenses, like, these are what we have to pay for.
Right.
And these are the big budget items that are new that absolutely must be done. I mean, if you don't want sewage coming up in your sinks, we've got to redo the sewer, we've got to,
Yeah, I think there are some things that are like must-dos, and I think there
Yeah.
are probably places throughout the budget that there's more discretionary, you know, expenditures that we should probably address at some point. Once we get the whole, I think we've got to get everything sort of on the table.
well, we have to, we can't really do anything
Yeah.
until we know what everyone wants
Right.
Yeah, and
and needs.
But I just think, you know, even that said, I think there's some must-dos and some nice-to-dos. And maybe some things that fall somewhere in between that we may have to address.
Right. I agree.
And a lot of the expenditures are a lot of that deficit is a one-time expenditure, like 3.6 for the firehouse.
Right.
1.7 for the sewer, 2.7 for the community center. But you never want to get into the place where you have to extremely raise taxes because you've been kicking the can down the hill for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
So-
what
Why
happened
we
for so
always-
many years.
Which I think
Exactly. It's-
And that's the difference between one-time projects and employees.
Right, right,
Because you're going to have them every year,
right,
and their costs are just going to continue to go up.
right.
And I know Kellen had done a different sheet for, I guess when we get to the police, just how much it
Well, I can-
long run.
next year to hire, like what the police are asking for, but the longer range is even greater, obviously.
Yeah, because they have so many different pay levels.
Well, that's why I was asking about the project cost of like, because when we were talking about the Little League and then redoing those fields. Well, I'd rather save money and do it now instead of having it cost this much more 3 years from now, you know?
I mean, those fields have
Cost
to
will
be
only
done.
increase.
So the
Yeah.
sprinkler heads are broken,
Right.
so you can't water the field.
Oh, they water them and then the water gushes out, and we
But I mean,
oh my gosh.
thousands of dollars in water
A
bills.
fire company was watering the football field the one day.
Oh, how those water bills.
I was like, oh my God, what is that?
So that's what it was. Okay.
But
I mean,
yes, I agree.
Some things like the fire companies, like, we just have to.
Yeah.
Fire is,
We have to listen to everything, but, I mean, the cost of not supporting our fire companies and having those at some point be paid services is astronomical.
and
Yeah.
as he said, if two people show up in a truck, they can't enter the
Right,
building.
I didn't know that.
Because you can't have one person going in by themselves.
Right.
One person is
And you
operating
can't
the
abandon the
truck.
truck.
You can't have an abandoned truck.
Somebody has
And
to
you can't
operate.
have a sole person inside the house. If something happens, what?
She said somebody has to operate the trucks, like to
Yeah.
run the pumps.
Yeah, you have to operate
Yeah.
the truck, and then you can't let a person go in by themselves. They could be, what if they were overcome or or
Yeah, what
something
if,
fell on
yeah,
them?
like
You
what
gotta
if a
have buddy.
firefighter dies because we don't have enough people, or somebody's house?
Well, no, what they do is they stand outside.
Yeah.
As he said, you go from a kitchen fire to you just
I was
lost
gonna
your
say,
whole
but
house.
people are like losing their houses.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that are just like,
Yeah, and we don't have a paid fire service, and that would be astronomical. So we're very
Exactly.
fortunate so far.
yeah, I don't think we want to put ourselves in a situation where that's like an, inevitable conclusion because we haven't provided enough support for our volunteer firefighters. And that's why I said I don't want us to raise taxes more than we have to, but I mean, I think we have to be sure we're supporting our volunteer firefighters and our fire companies and
Yeah, I'd like to see some sort of,
they need. Otherwise, I mean,
I'd like to see an introduction to the budget document that isn't just the budget with line items and all, but explains
Yeah.
why the real estate tax is going to go up, because we simply
agree.
have to provide these services. We have to build that firehouse. We have possibly, we'll talk about it later at the end, but we may have to have another
Summary
big
of all our
fire.
large line items.
Yeah, our real hard line items that impact the safety and health of the whole township. So the sewer interceptor is the health of the
Yeah, I mean-
township.
So when you pass your budget document, there's always a list of capital projects. It gets advertised in the newspaper, and we can certainly put that online. But that's something that we have every year for you. It's part of, right, that last schedule?
Yeah,
That goes with, yeah,
Yeah,
the list of all the
what we're
projects.
putting in, what we're taking out.
Yeah, but I also think it would be helpful to explain to people, not just like, this is the cost of the projects we're doing, but like why the projects cost this much. Like a fire truck. Cost of a fire truck has gone way up. Cost of construction has gone way up. Like costs are rising on everything.
Yes.
And I feel like it's important that we spell that out for people.
Maybe point out like where we sit on the list of after our increase.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And letting people know how much per household that is.
yeah.
Because if you're gonna go maybe 18 or maybe even as much as $22 a year for average house, then that house won't burn down.
Well, right, and you won't have to, yes, you won't have to replace your, maybe you could still live in that house and not have to buy a new home.
Because it isn't gonna cost what your
Right.
assessed value is.
to get all your
Right.
money together to build a new one.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I understand that it's creating a little bit more work, but at the same time, I do feel like communication matters. like the Cunningtown thing. I just feel like sometimes spelling things out for people actually reduces them being upset at
Let's
us,
keep
you
it
know?
off tonight.
Sorry.
But I think until everything is rolled together and you decide exactly what you want in and out of the budget, when it comes to the things that are just the wants and not the needs, then we'll have a recommendation on the amount of tax increase that should go along with that.
Just a second.
And again, your choice, but not raising taxes for a lot of years, which was
Yeah.
done for many years, really was probably irresponsible in a way, because everything does go up a little, and this needs to go up a little too.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it just has to, and it should, and, you know, we try to do that in a controlled fashion and get what we need, and as far as the wants, then you decide, you know, what you're gonna add on, but,
Do for that.
Right.
yeah.
That'd be more-
Yeah, I
Anything
think
left
that's
for the
part of
wants
it,
instead of
not
just the-
raising.
That'd be another thing that I'd
Yeah.
want in that explanation is
Sure.
that we
Yeah.
didn't raise taxes.
Exactly, I think that's really important to say. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm leaning towards this, and I literally ran on, let's not raise taxes. I mean, let's be honest, I had
Everything
no
costs-
idea what I was talking
Yeah, but
about.
everything costs more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
How
how,
could this
yeah,
not
right.
cost more?
Exactly.
When we ran
Everything
on
has to get
keeping
raised.
taxes.
Well, now I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's
We
the
said keep
responsible
them
thing to
low.
do.
Exactly.
Because we're realists.
Yeah.
Just like everything else.
Right.
Nick and I knew.
Taxes at all.
Cost goes up.
That's why he's the smart one.
Salaries have to go up.
I
Everything,
don't
you
think I
know?
mentioned taxes at all.
It's all relative.
Has anybody ever run on raising taxes?
No, but
True.
but Nick and I ran on keeping taxes low,
There you go.
and they are low when you compare to all of our surrounding communities.
I was gonna
They're
say,
low.
what you
There you
can also
go.
do is run a comparison of the other municipalities.
Yeah, I think that's
And
a
how
great
about the
idea.
ones who get we get twice a week trash collection included in our taxes. They're buying trash services.
This is true.
in
I think that's
addition.
another thing that's good to point out.
Yeah, I tell that to everybody. You live in Whitpain, you live in Conshohocken, you live in Whitemarsh, you pay an extra trash bill. You don't pay that in Plymouth. It's a
Right.
part of your, and you get it twice a week, let alone once.
True.
And you're not paying extra for it.
I'll update that, because I gave it to you last year. So I'll update that again. We'll do that.
Yeah.
It's true. We were like the third lowest when you factor in, we were the seventh lowest by straight numbers of taxes, school and property taxes, real estate, municipal taxes. Everybody has the same county rates, but when you add in the fact that we pick up your trash and you don't have a $400 bill for that, I think we were like the third lowest in the county.
We should point that out to
Yeah,
people.
that's definitely worth pointing out. Yes.
And it's still twice a week.
And that.
Okay.
That's that good.
Okay.
Are we done the revenue or not? We're still on revenue?
Oh, no, we're still on revenue. We got a lot to go.
Yeah, general fund revenue, 2
I'm just trying to look for, there we go.
Little digression there.
Okay, so the next line, fire services fee, we just went over that. I just gave a 1% increase just in case there's anything such as a house gets reassessed or any of the new houses get built, new developments happening, so I always just give a 1% increase for taxes in general.
And you think our fire services fee is where it should be? It shouldn't be.
It's
any-
actually very close to it. You mean?
It shouldn't be any greater?
Well, that's what we gotta decide, right? If
Depends on how
we're
much you
gonna
want to
do-
give them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to all come from there, but it certainly can come from that line item.
Is Harmonville asking, though, is some of what they're asking for a loan? Yeah. Yeah.
3.5
Build the
million.
firehouse is the loan.
The loan.
3.5
Loan.
million.
It's coming
I
out.
don't know what they're asking
They're
for.
paying it out of what we give
Yeah,
them.
I'm just taking it right out there.
Oh,
So they're not
okay.
getting as much from us because
Got
they're
you.
repaying the loan.
I understand.
We didn't
Okay.
hear from them yet. They may have other, you know, they've.
We'll have a,
They
we'll have
have
other.
other,
They have other asks
yeah.
besides that, because they're
Oh.
paying that back.
Oh, okay.
So that's like,
Normally they go together, Plymouth and Harmonville, but Plymouth.
Oh, but they had
has
that.
asked to
Yeah.
come this
Yeah.
week.
That's why,
Gotcha.
you know, the
Okay.
materials and stuff we would have had them in advance for next week.
Ah, I see.
Kind of like they're getting an advance on their allowance.
Yes,
Well, they
that
haven't got the
makes
money
sense
yet.
now. Yeah.
So-
Okay.
Okay, so Real estate, delinquent taxes, that's hit or miss. It just really depends on who pays their real estate taxes on time. Interim, that's also another line item that, it's a hit or miss as well. Goes up, goes down some years. Going into personal and business taxes, real estate transfer tax, I'm hoping to hit the $750,000 that we budgeted for this year. It's very low in the real estate market, obviously. Not a lot of people are selling, not a lot of people are buying. So what the real estate transfer tax is 2% on the house sold, 1% goes to the state, 0.5% goes to the school district, and 0.5% comes to us. So I'm going to keep that straight, keep that at 750 for next year. Earned income tax, we've been doing pretty well with that. We increased it in 22 and 23. I wouldn't suggest, unless we need another source of revenue, increasing that again. But I'm looking to see, I'm projecting about 8.755 for next year. Mercantile tax is on wholesale and retail stores, grocery stores, and that such. I'm looking to keep that the same. Delinquent, that's hit or miss. It all depends on when businesses pay. We've been doing a good job collecting on both business privilege and the mercantile tax. Tri-State Financial Group's collecting for us, and they've been doing a great job with that. LST, that's anyone making over $12,000, they pay that, pay $1 a week. Anyone working in Plymouth Township pays that. I'm looking to keep that the same. Amusement tax, we have two businesses that pay. It's Tees Golf and the 1912 Club. They pay the amusement tax, and it's about $40,000 each year. Business privilege tax, that's for services such as consultant services or doctors, financial consultants, anything such as that. Last year we hit pretty high. It was 4.7 million. I think it's going to pass what we budgeted for this year too, so I put that to 4.5 million. It's a business privilege delinquent tax. It's the same. It's hit or miss. It's who pays on time. Solid waste disposal fees. That is to
Covanta?
Covanta. Yeah, that's for anyone who's using our anyone who brings trash to the Covanta plant, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's relatively the same each year. We get paid quarterly. Last year was 1.1 million. The year before that was 1.2.
It's a host fee for having it
Yeah.
here. And I think also like that LNS demo, do you have any others that come in? LNS
I
demo
can
or
check.
Track and Rail?
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple others that instead, in lieu of a business tax, they pay a solid waste tax. Yeah.
Liquor license, 10,000 for next year. I'm sorry, mercantile license and business privilege license. Everyone has to pay that each year, $25 per business to do business with our in Plymouth Township. Cable TV franchise fee, we get those from Verizon and Comcast. We get that paid quarterly, and we're going to keep that at $315,000. The right-of-way and billboard fee, that's going to be kept at $15,000.
Pat bills out. Maybe he
Yeah.
just didn't send out the bills yet.
Yeah, he sends it
Once
out
a
at the
year.
end of the year. Licensing and permits, this is a lot of Jim stuff. So I just, what I did was just compare it from year to year and see where we're at year to date. It does look like the building permit, the electrical is down not significantly, but enough to not bring it back to 190 for next year. So I'm going to put it at 180,000. For the most part, everything remains the same. The others that increased a little or very little variance there, so it's not a whole significant number to change the budget or anything with that. Fines, violation of ordinance, we're down this year, so I brought that down to 30,000. The district court fees, we were up, and the alarm violations, we were up, so I increased those each by 5,000 for next year. Interest, we are, even though the rates have been going down, We're still significantly ahead of what was budgeted for last year, and we currently are projecting a bigger fund balance at the beginning of next year, so I believe $500,000 is a pretty good estimate that we'll receive next year. Going down to the next page. Rental income, that is the Verizon Towers paying us so much a month.
Okay.
So expecting about 30,000 there. We're already at 22,000 for this year.
Should be 2,500 a month, I think.
Is it 2,500 a month? I knew it was something around there.
Yeah, times 12. Yeah, 30,000, that's right.
Okay. Federal grants, you see in 2022, we received the ARP money for COVID. That's the last time we were going to receive it, so there's only nothing for this year. The Fireman Relief Fund, we talked about it earlier. That's the money that we receive from the state, and it goes right to the fire companies. The next three line items are going to keep the same. The state pension aid, that's going to increase. That's the number we received from CBIZ. That's the number that you guys saw, and I believe it was last week's. Was it last week's or maybe last month's?
We just divided it, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they're suggesting the budget for this year. Inspection services, the inspection services fire sprinkler doesn't look like it's going to be hitting its intended mark this year, so I took it down $3,000 to $25,000. And the other one is operational permit. Looks like we're receiving more money for that. I moved that up $4,000 to $12,000 for next year. Other revenue, not a whole lot changing there. Go down to the next page, 2-4. Reimbursable services, each stayed exactly the same. Not a whole lot to change there. Recreation fees, this is Phil went over this earlier. For the most part, it's going to be a little bit of an increase overall of 1.22%. And then the last one is the transfer from the sewer fund. So this is what the sewer fund pays back the general fund. Anyone who works with sewer a little bit or anyone who works in sewer, such as their health expense or their pension expense, doesn't actually get paid directly out of sewer. So sewer pays the general fund for those expenses. And that's where you see the $416,000 come from. So any questions for the revenues? All right. Last part. Right.
I actually do have a question about the revenues.
Okay.
So is it worth making sure that you increase, at least for the taxes, increase certain taxes that seem to come out of specific, actions, so that we're making sure to pay for increases that come out of those kinds of categories of actions? I don't know how else to describe it. I'm not using the right words. But essentially, like, we have taxes, say, for business privilege tax. I don't know when that was instituted. I don't know how often that's ever been increased.
You can't increase that anymore.
Okay.
It has to stay at 1.5 mils. So if you didn't have it, an ordinance for it enacted by like the late 80s, I think it was.
The Local Tax Enabling Act.
Something like that. You can't have it at all. So like Whitpain can't have a business privilege tax because didn't have one set by then.
Okay.
So that's set, and you can't increase the mills either.
Window shut, and then,
Yeah.
so like Warrington doesn't have one or whatever.
there's a
and that
couple places.
exploded with like all kinds of like power centers and, Targets and Lowe's and Home Depots, and they can't have a business privilege tax because they didn't have it on the books at the time when the law was changed.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
We
can't.
had everything that we could have had when the window shut.
Yeah.
We had them all, but
So yeah,
yeah,
stuff.
we can't increase the amount.
So really, you can increase the real estate taxes, and
Fire
the
service fee.
fire service fee, and the EIT.
Okay.
But the EIT, whatever you increase, half of it's going to go to the school district.
Can you increase the cable fee?
No.
You can.
Well, we have franchise agreements. Now, the next time they're around, it just means everybody's cable bill will be higher than it is. And I don't know if they're all on YouTube TV and forget about Verizon
I
and
feel like there's a lot of people.
Verizon and Comcast, but I think we, this council or all councils, and in the past, they didn't want to use the maximum tax. So if you ever look at your cable, if you have Comcast or Verizon, there's always there's a tax line, and it will talk about, your municipality or local tax or whatever, federal tax. So our two franchise agreements right now are at like 4%, the tax, instead of 5 is the max. But, from way back, nobody ever wanted to increase it, to make it the max, because then everybody's bill is higher than it would otherwise be. So it's at 4%, I think, instead of 5.
There's already a lot of fees in those bills too.
Yes, all the fees, all the fees,
Yes.
your bundle, yeah.
So, we'll go to the manager's office. That starts on page 3.1. It's very short. The only really increase here is for the salaries for the full-time.
We're gonna have to add in an automobile allowance?
I know, that's what I was thinking too when I first looked at this. Yeah. The automobile
Helen doesn't
allowance.
realize, the new manager's gonna the new manager's gonna have an auto allowance.
How much was
It's
it?
400 a
400?
month, so it's 4,800 a year. If that's what's in his draft contract, so,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll have to make that 4,800.
And that'll start in February? After you leave?
Yeah, so I guess, and I saw, I'm just getting back to seeing what about naming him as a manager designee in November. And it's is that what I'm understanding? I think I read that in an email somewhere, but then he's going to start on January 2nd. I guess it would be February 2nd or
He's
something.
gonna be paid pro rata for any days that he could spend here, any time he could spend here, like I guess he wasn't able to make tonight's meeting or something. But
Yeah, I did reach out to him last week, and I said we'd get together like this week. I didn't talk to him.
Yeah.
He's so busy, and I'm so busy, but yeah, that's, I guess, to be determined. I guess his actual contract has to be 100% hammered out, and, I mean, I've seen a draft. I don't know where that stands. I'll check with Rebecca in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, see. But I don't know, I thought it said if he came to meetings beforehand, he could keep track of some flex time. Again, this is just what I'm reading from some emails.
yeah, something like, just someone.
Some time off, like later or something. I
Yeah.
think and January 2nd, he's supposed to start, right? And he would be a designee.
Okay, so then it would be for the full year,
Yeah, I
right,
think he starts January 2nd.
and he'll get the automobile allowance while he's the designee, because he's only designee for
1 month.
1 month.
And then I don't, yeah. Okay, that's splitting hairs, but I would imagine.
Okay.
And then the last line there, the civic organization contributions, we will go over that in November, the third budget meeting. And that's basically the victim services, the Elmwood Zoo Park, and those contributions.
Okay.
Library.
Yeah. That kind of stuff, yeah.
And all the sporting groups and
That's in,
We'll go over them in November too. But
Yeah,
that's
we'll do that.
his
That's
budget.
on a different
that-
line.
Yeah, that comes out of Phil's budget. All right, on 3.2, it's finance and administration. So the computer software, that's, one asked for an increase there. We just have, it's for security upgrades and firewall upgrades. Something we need to have because we're required by our insurance to have that. Telecast meetings, when asked to have 25,000 put in for that, I believe, is that something we're required to have now, telecast meetings, or is that something we just want to do?
What's a telecast
You
meeting?
mean live rather
Like-
than the next day?
Oh.
Yeah. I think that was something we wanted to do.
Did he want to try that?
Yeah, I think that was something he asked to put that in for the budget, for 25,000.
Does council want that?
You
I
guys,
don't know, what I don't want is people to be able to participate via Zoom.
Yeah.
That seems very complicated.
Yeah.
You can discuss that further.
He just wants to
Yeah.
telecast to me, like you can watch it on.
so I think what it was.
Like you
is
can watch a live stream.
Not a
You
lot.
can't
It might be a
participate.
live stream, but I think he wants it to have it on an actual channel. You know how like
Like on TV.
Bring back-
accidentally hit,
Like C-SPAN or
yeah, if you accidentally
Right.
press channel
Oh,
31,
Well,
And then,
I'll move the
so a lot of other municipalities actually have that, and it's like it's not a live feed, it's a recording.
Oh, is it to get our two channels back up, our governmental channels?
I'll check, I'll double check with
Yeah,
them.
let's ask Glenn, because if not.
But is that something that we need? Is this 2274?
No, it's 4332. Telecast meetings.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I'm sorry, like, if we're gonna have
Is it
like a
different
recording
channels?
of the meeting,
think so, yeah.
if we have a better website, we have a recording of the meeting up on the website for them to watch whenever they want.
doesn't make sense.
That's just $25,000 for.
I don't know, is it
nobody's
because of
probably
those
really
people
gonna
who don't
watch.
have internet access, the people?
And it's not like we can sell ads
Would
for
this
ad
be a
time for
yearly
breaks in the
expense?
meeting.
I don't believe so, no, I think it's just a
like a
startup.
one-time
Maybe
thing?
a startup, yeah. But I'll double check with Len.
Okay.
I'll send you guys an email what he tells me.
So is the idea that there are people who don't have computers, and so they can only watch our meetings on TV, like maybe people who are homebound and can't get live? And then would it like run on a loop, so it would be all day, every day? You could go and.
So do you remember
Okay,
before
watch you guys.
they demoed this auditorium, we had certain equipment in here that we couldn't use, so it went. And at that time, the TV channels, so Verizon and Comcast through those cable agreements, give us an educational channel, just like the school board has one. You can always look at meetings online, watch
Oh,
TV.
right,
It's
yeah.
like watching TV, for the school board, and they have a lot of things out there, right? Sometimes the kids' sports plus all their meetings. We used to use both Verizon and Comcast, our educational channels, and I know the equipment was no longer, working, and we said, we'll wait until we get this whole building redone, and then we'll start them up again. Like if it's to provide, I'm almost positive that's what that is. So that, so if you want our channels to work again, that's what it would cost to get the equipment to get them up and running. And if you don't want them running, we could save $25,000. We just won't use our educational channels. I don't know how many people watch them.
I guess, but do you think it is about accessibility?
Well, I mean,
I think
That would be my concern.
Yeah.
I think it's different if this is a one-time fee or if
Oh, I
I
agree.
think
We're
it's,
paying
I think
them.
it's, no, I think it's, the channel is already
Everything
in the
there.
franchise agreement. This is equipment to get it up and running.
Yeah,
check
that's-
with them.
I'm almost certain it is, because I'll tell you, before they renewed the cable franchise agreements, they used to give grants, and you could buy the equipment with the money Comcast would give you, and that's how we got the old equipment. But once that was no longer viable, and it's no longer in the agreement, so I bet that's what that's for. Equipment that might last 10, 15 years, 20 years, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So who would have the answer to that, Len?
Len would know.
We can ask Len.
I'll ask him and I'll shoot you.
That's,
guys.
that's the
one-time
Verizon.
fee to get it up and
and
running.
Cable.
That's fine.
totally,
I think it is.
I think it is too, because you know what the
But
amount.
to me,
spent
that's
right
like
now.
a part-time employee,
Do we know?
like half a part-time employee
percentage
in
of our
this day and
town
age.
that does not have internet
If that's
access?
gonna be every year.
No, one of them.
One?
I do know one.
When you do know one. But
She
you know
comes
the
to our
percentage?
meetings sometimes. I don't want to say her name on the table.
Oh, no, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying they don't exist, I'm just curious what the percentage share is, like.
Oh, I bet it's very low.
Very low.
Because she told us once, she doesn't have a computer or a smartphone, and she does rely on, and she relies on the television set for her township information.
Yeah.
So-
I feel like if you don't have a computer.
That's the only person that I
you
know.
probably have a smartphone.
Yeah.
But there are a few that don't.
Right.
Right, could be. There could be many more, we just don't know about them.
Yeah,
True.
and they may not be watching anything or care, but
Right.
I don't know. It may just be an accessibility issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd hate to drop it and then.
Find out.
Right, if that's the.
Well,
yeah,
this
if
could be.
that's the reasoning.
This could obviously be done next year, right? This would be something that we could like kick down the road.
This is the 2025 budget.
Yeah, that's.
No, I know, I'm saying you could kick this can down the road.
Oh, yeah.
If you're worried about people coming in and complaining, okay, well, maybe we take it up next year in next year's budget. I'm worried about $25,000 for a problem that I'm not sure.
Exists, yeah.
So we'll just,
For one person. She told us she's waiting for it to come back, but we haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't know how comfortable y'all feel about that, but
I don't know.
even if it is a one-time thing, it's just.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
I'm not
Yeah.
dying to do it.
So the next one down there, casualty insurance, that's the Divot property and liability,
What number are you at now? I'm sorry.
4352.
Oh, okay.
That's up 51,000. That is due to mainly cybersecurity and just a normal increase for property and liability. But cybersecurity is one of the bigger things now, and it's just going to be costing each year more and more money. There's not much we can do. We have to have it.
Yeah.
Workers' comp did go down. And that being said, so we get the casualty insurance and the workers' comp insurance from Divot. So they give us a number, and then there's certain funds we can use to cut down the costs, such as a rate stabilization fund, and then they give us like a dividend each year. So this is also taking all of those extra funds that are available for us through Divot, so we're cutting down the cost that way. It's something if we don't use one year, we can move to the next year, but usually I think we take it every year, right? Yeah. So that's the cheapest that we can get it for each year, or for this year. Training seminars down lower, second line from the bottom. That is, Lena has asked for $15,000 in IT training, and that's for him, Juan, and Brandon. I think they're going to get, I forget what training it is specifically, but I do know he wants them to go, can't think off the top of my head what it was, but I think he wants them to get certain certifications. So on the next page, on page 3.3, the tax office. So for tax collection, EIT, that's going to go up because we're collecting more EIT money. Same with BP and Merck. We're collecting more BP and Merck tax, so that's going to be going up. That's in our contract with Tri-State Financial Group. The refunds for business privilege tax, it did increase because each year we do seem to be getting, if a business moves out of the township or anything of that nature cease to exist, we do have to give them a refund. The one below that, refunds for real estate.
Would we refund them? Like, how much do we refund them that year?
For that year, yeah. So they prepay for the tax.
Oh, okay.
So they have to do an estimate. So if they leave before the year is over, we have to refund them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or if they cease to exist. Refunds for real estate. It does look like there's going to be more cases in the court for reassessment. We get them
Lower.
every day, pretty much. We seem to get new ones. So,
And the school district negotiates those.
well, yeah, the school district's the one that
handle it, and then we
that's
just-
the one you really
Right.
want. But
We get dragged along, dragged down with them.
The next section, reimbursable items, that I'm going to keep all that expense the same. And then the fund transfers, debt service, that's what we pay each year. That's an expense that we know for the next 30 years. We have a debt service schedule, shows us how much we're going to be paying each year. We have two outstanding bonds right now, one from 21 and 22, both for the township building. Transfer from the sewer fund, or transfer to the sewer fund, I'm sorry, and that's for the Interceptor project. The reason it went down is because the sewer fund, it's more of a cash flow issue than anything. Currently, we can afford to pay back the sewer fund $1.5 million, and we'd still have a positive fund balance. I can go more into that when we go over the sewer fund. I think this is the third meeting in November. Health and welfare fund, this is mainly to cover all the costs of the health insurance. It did increase this year. You'll see that in the next section, the health and welfare, the actual health and welfare fund. Community center operating, this is to cover, pretty much cover the costs of the community center. They need $800,000 from the general fund to stay afloat each year. Community center capital, that would be for the pool pump room. That's $2.7 million. The capital reserve is to pay for the fire loan, and that's $3.6 million. And the next two at the bottom, police pension and civilian pension. Those are numbers that we get from CBIZ, and that's to pay for the MMO for 2025. So then the last section is section 10, Health and Wellness Fund. And like I said before, this is just the fund that pays for the health insurances and the retiree health insurance. So if you look at the top section, the revenues, the main reason it's going up a lot is because there's coming from a transfer from the general fund of $5 million, and that's to cover the costs of the increase in health insurance, which you'll see below. Increase in bonus, we're expecting a 7% increase, and that would, and that is not considering, the extra employees that we would be having right now. If we were to, say, put a firefighter on there or a policeman or anything, that's just what we have currently on our enrollment list.
That is a large expense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, a necessary expense, but it's very large.
Yep. So then you see the total revenues and total expenses equal each other there. It's pretty much a fund just to pay out the health insurance expenses for the year.
What's health insurance opt-out? Is that somebody deciding not to
Mhm.
take
So
health
we-
insurance from
so
here?
so we pay them.
Third.
Yeah, 1/3 of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The premium to not take it, otherwise we pay 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But they have to prove they have other coverage. Sometimes their spouse has
Yes.
good coverage.
Right.
Coverage, so.
So that's everything. Yep, so that's everything on the agenda. Did you guys have any questions for anything? No, it's been a long meeting.
We have one action item.
Yeah.
Say action.
So at the last meeting, we approved the minutes, but I forgot to get approval for September's departmental reports and bills, so if someone, we had all the materials last month, if someone can make a motion to approve September's departmental reports and bills?
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Whitney. Thank you.
You want to take a roll call, please? Yeah.
Roll
Roll
call.
call. All right.
You're tired.
Yes.
A lot going on.
What's happening?
I
It's okay.
drove back from Rhode Island today.
Just for us.
Oh, it's horrible. The traffic is disgusting. All right, so roll call vote. Mr. Whitney.
In favor.
Ms. Vizio.
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Leonard.
In favor.
Mr. Nelson.
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor. All right, nothing miscellaneous to go over? All right, meeting adjourned. See you all next week.